Hello to all our listeners. Today we are studying Hilchot Shabbat, Perek Kaf Aleph. This is Yosef Faur teaching. This is in this chapter, so I'm just going to do a short introduction because really we're entering now a strand of 6 chapters that deal with the Derabanan laws regarding Shabbat. Derabanan meaning by the sages, by Hachamim, additional laws regarding Shabbat. There's 2 main types of laws that prohibitions that were made by Hachamim in regard to Shabbat. The first one, and this is what we're going to see in the next 3 chapters, is what we call Isur Shevut. Isur Shevut is laws that were formulated in order to distance people from possibly transgressing scriptural laws, which of course result in scriptural punishment of Sekila Karet for being done purposefully in Korban Hatat, for being done by mistake. So that's what we call Isur Shevut, to distance us from doing these possibly transgressing these laws, and I'll speak a little bit more on that in a second. And the second type of derabanan prohibitions are those made by Hachamim, so that misvat shebita, in other words, doing Shabbat, can be done in a proper manner, and that we will see later on, Perek Kaf Dalet or Kaf He and onwards. So, in regard to Isur Shevut, there are 2 main reasons for the Isur of Shevut, 2 main types of Isur Shevut. The first type are those prohibitions which were made in order to distance people from doing the melachot themselves. So you have something which may bring you to do a melacha, so Hachamim prohibit us from doing that something. The second type of Isur Shevut is prohibitions of doing a certain action which is very close to an actual melacha and can, if allowed, cause people to transgress actual scriptural melachot. It's a little different than the previous one. This is something which there's no isur, there's nothing. It looks like a melacha, and therefore we're afraid that if we allow you to do this, you may come to do a melacha. So the first one, I'm just going over. The first one is things that may bring you to do a melacha for whatever reason, okay, without realizing. So this deals with the human psychology. Both of them have interesting psychological aspects. And the second type is a prohibition of something which looks like a melacha and therefore is prohibited. We will see this in the following halachot, and in the next 3 chapters, this is what our focus is going to be on. So I will start. Halacha Aleph. Ne'emar b'Torah tishbot. It says in the Torah to rest as a commandment. Afilu midabarim she'enan melacha hayav lishbot mehen. Even things that are not a melacha from the lamited melachot, you have to be shovet from them. You have to rest from them. Udvarim harbehen she'asiru hachamim mishum shevut, mehen devarim asaru mipnei shehem domim lemelachot, umehen devarim asarum gezerah shemiyabo mehen isur sekila ve'eluhen. So there are many things which are not officially a melacha from the 39 melachot, which hachamim prohibited, and you must not and are prohibited to do on Shabbat. And the 2 reasons, as I previously just mentioned, are mentioned here in the halacha. The first one is to not do things which look like melachot and may bring you to do a melacha that way. And the second type of things are things that are prohibition, so that you do not, by mistake, end up doing a melacha. Halacha bet. Kol hamashve gumot areze hayav mishum choresh. So it is known, one of the lamitet melachot is choresh. And anybody who does what is called hashva'at gumot, he flattens pits or holes, so he is hayav from the melechet choresh, which is plowing. Lefichach, asiru lehipanot besadeh hanira b'Shabbat sheme yeshve gumot. Therefore, it is asur to go to do one's tzerachim in a sedeh nira on Shabbat. A sedeh nira on Shabbat is a field that was plowed but not yet planted, and therefore you have a plowed field, but it's not yet planted, so it's not, it's your guard is a little down, so you're still, the field in your mind is still in the stages before planting. Therefore, in your mind, you may end up doing things in this field. So there's a chance that the person may do what's hashva'at gumot if he goes to this field on Shabbat. Therefore, it is asur. המפנה אוסר בשבת מפני שהוא צריך לו לדבר מצווה, כגון שיכניס בו אורחים או יקבע עמו מדרש, לא יגמור את כל האוסר שמא יבוא להשוות גומות. So somebody who has a storage house, an osar, and in the storage house there are many produce, there's many of a certain produce. So when you take out this produce, usually it would be hay or something of the type, It is prohibited to take out everything for the very simple reason that if you take out everything, there's a chance that you may end up doing hashva'at gumot when you see the ground, the floor, and of course I mentioned a few times in those days the floors were not made out of tiles or stone; they were made out of ground, and therefore especially in the storage house, and therefore in the storage house somebody may. After taking out everything from the storage house, you may end up doing hashva'at gumot, which is asur on Shabbat. Therefore, there's this prohibition to take out everything. You have to leave a layer of whatever is being stored. So if somebody has mud on his leg, he may clean his leg on a wall or on a wooden beam. However, he may not clean his leg or his foot on the ground for the very reason that he may do hashva'at gumot. Another prohibition. It is not permitted to spit on the ground and rub the spit or scrub the spit with your foot for the very reason that you may do hashva'at gumot. However, if there was spit on the ground and somebody was walking, there's no problem if he steps on it while he's walking, to get from where he needs to, from place to place. Halacha Gimel. נשים המשחקות באגוזים ושקדים וכיוצא בהן, אסורות לשחק בהן בשבת, שמא יבוא להשוות הגומות. Women or children or anybody, but this is just al derech, what is more matsui in the world, what is more common in those days was women who do this, that are playing with almonds and nuts and things like that, are not allowed to play with them on Shabbat, because usually they would play these games on the floor, like some games with the nuts, I don't know, I can't think of an example now. Maybe today that would be like marbles, because shemei yashvo lehavot gumot. Shemei yavo lehashvot gumot. Ve'asur lechabed et hakarka. Also, it is prohibited to clean the ground. Shemei yashve hagumot ela im ken haya rasuf be'avanim. It is forbidden to clean somebody's floor in his house, so that shemei yashve gumot, because we're afraid that he might do hashva'at gumot. From now, I'm just going to say shemei yashve gumot. And I've explained that enough times so that it will be understandable. Unless the floor was tiled with stone, like today's modern day tiled floors, there's no problem to sweep. That's what kibud karka, if I forgot to mention, is sweeping the ground. However, it is mutar to throw water on the ground, and we have no problem doing this because we're not afraid that the person might do hashva'at gumot, because usually people are not mashvim gumot after they spill water on the ground. And also, even if he by mistake did do hashva'at gumot, it is davar she'eno mitkaven on Shabbat, which is mutar, as explained in chapter 1. Go there if you do not remember. En sachin et hakarka ואפילו היה רצוף באבנים, ואין נופחין אותו ואין מדיחין אותו אפילו ביום טוב, קל וחומר בשבת שלא יעשה כדרך שהוא עושה בחול ויבוא להשוות הגומות. It is prohibited to do what is called sichat hakarka, to grease or smear the ground with a cleaning agent of sorts, even if the floor was tiled with stone tiles, like today. Also, it is prohibited to blow on the ground to get rid of dirt. Also, it is prohibited to clean it with water. Even on Yom Tov, and of course, if it's asur on Yom Tov, then obviously it's also asur on Shabbat. For two reasons. For one reason, which brings to another. Because when somebody cleans the ground, it is in his habitual system. It's a habit of cleaning that, in those days especially, that you would do hashva'at gumot. And now we're afraid that if you do this through your habitual cleaning skills or the way you usually clean, you may end up doing hashva'at gumot on Shabbat, and therefore it is asur, because this is the way you do it in Hol, and you may do hashva'at gumot. Of course, this is all in a situation in which the ground is not rasuf. However, if there are tiles, it is a different story. הלכה ד' חסר שנתקלקלה במי הגשמים מביא תבן ומרדה בה. So let's say somebody had a yard which got overly filled with mud due to rainfall. So he may bring, it was customary in those days to bring straw in order to put on the ground to so to speak flatten the area, to make it easier to step on and to stop the mud from entering people's feet. So you may do so on Shabbat. וכשהוא מרדה לא ירדה לו בסל ולא בקופה, אלא בשולי הקופה, שלא יעשה כדרך שהוא עושה בחול, ויבוא להשוות הגומות. However, when you do this ridud, when you do this flattening of the ground with the straw, you mustn't do it in the way you do it in hol, but rather do it in a way that's a little different from the hol, so that you don't, from habitual, from habit, end up doing hashva'at gumot. Halacha he. Hamashkeh et hazira'im. Watering seeds. Hayav mishum zorea. Watering seeds on Shabbat is asur from the melacha of zorea, and somebody who does water seeds on Shabbat is hayav midin Torah, from scriptural law. Lefichach. Therefore, Chachamim came and made a prohibition. Asur lish'ov min habor begalgal gezerah shemei yamalei laginato ulchurbato. Therefore, it is prohibited to bring up water in the usual manner of bringing it up with a bucket from a well, okay, because we are afraid that he may fill it up to his gina or churba. What is ginato or churbato? A gina or churba is a yard, okay, a gina. So we're afraid that he doesn't end up watering his field or ruin. The gina, the yard is a field with proper normal growth, while a ruin is something that we're referring to as the ruin that we're referring to, the churba, is a field that was dried or out of order for whatever other reason. And this is why Rambam continues by saying that this prohibition is only in the well that is outside the confines of somebody's private area. However, if it is in his own yard and not in his field, he may take out water for distinct private use, because we're not scared that he might this way transgress the scriptural law, and we'll see this right now. If his well was in his haser, was in his yard, he may take out, because he's taking out to water his family, to give his people to drink, and there's no chance that he might somehow transgress scriptural law. Halacha vav. Hatolesh hayav mishum poser. Tearing, the action of tearing, is somebody who tears is liable for kesira. Kesira is one of the lamitet melachot. It is harvesting. Lefichach asur ledot devash mikavar. Now, harvesting is, of course, anything that is connected to the ground. So therefore, asur ledot devash mikavarto b'Shabbat b'penei shehu ketolesh. It is prohibited to take out honey from one's beehive on Shabbat, because it is like tearing. En olin ba'ilan ben lach ben yavesh ve'en nitlin ba'ilan ve'en nismachin ba'ilan. Also, it is prohibited to go on top of a tree, to climb a tree, whether the tree was wet or dry. Also, it is prohibited to hold on to a vine, hold on to a tree, meaning like stay suspended in the air from a tree. Also, it is prohibited to lean on a tree. Also, it is prohibited for one to get on the tree before Shabbat in order to stay there all of Shabbat. Also, it is prohibited to use anything that is still connected to the ground, because we are scared that the person may end up doing telisha. Now, I would like to just remind the two rules that I said at the beginning of this chapter, of the two types of isurei shevut. The one being in isur shevut, so that to do something that is close to a melacha, because then the person may end up doing it, or the real melacha, thinking that the real melacha is mutar. And the second type being doing something which may bring a person to by mistake do a melacha. In this specific halacha which we just read, halacha vav, we see those two. We see on one hand, hatolesh hayav misum koser lefichach asur, the isur of the prohibition of taking honey out of a beehive, because it looks like telisha, because it's like tearing. It's very close to tearing. We're afraid that the person may end up doing the melacha, therefore. Also, it is asur. The second one is en olim ba'ilan ben lach ben yavesh v'nitlin ba'alam v'lo ya'alemi be'od yom nishev sham kol hayom kulo. The second one mehila is en mishtamishim b'mchubar lakarka kelal gezerah shemeh yitlosh. It is prohibited to use anything connected to the ground, because it may bring the person to transgress a scriptural law. You see, that's the two things. One thing could bring you to transgress a scriptural law. Another thing is something that's close to one of the melachot, and therefore Chachamim asiru it. These are the two types of isurei shevut. Halacha zayin. Perot shenashiru b'Shabbat. fruits that fell off a tree on Shabbat. It is prohibited to eat them on Shabbat if they fell on Shabbat, so that somebody doesn't end up doing telisha. Hadasa mechubar, myrtle that is connected to the ground. Although we said you're not allowed to use anything that is still connected to the ground, myrtle that is still connected to the ground, mutar lehariyah bo, it is permitted to smell it. She'en hanayato ella lehariyah bo ve'arerecho masui, because it is permitted to smell it, because the enjoyment, the typical enjoyment of myrtle, of hadas, is in the smelling of the hadas, and the smell of hadas was masui. It is a smell that is common, and this is of course in regard to the days of Harambam. But something that they didn't prohibit, we're not going to prohibit ourselves. Even if hadas isn't as masui today, isn't as common as it was, we're still not going to le'esor it. Abal etrog, however, citron, v'tapuach, an apple, and anything. I'm not sure if this is the apple of today or a different type of fruit, but etrog v'tapuach v'chol ha'ra'ui la'achila, anything that is fit for human consumption. It is prohibited to smell any fruit that is still connected to the ground, so that because we are afraid that he may end up doing a melacha, the melacha of kesira, in order to eat it, which is of course prohibited scripturally. Mi de oraita. The oraita means scriptural. Halacha het. Ilan, a tree. A tree that its roots were above the ground, over 3 tefahim above the ground, it is prohibited to sit on them. However, if they were not over 3 tefahim above the ground, if they were below the 3 tefahim is about 24 centimeters, a little less than a foot. They are like the ground, because we said if the roots were, so to speak, going from the bottom of from the ground up until above 3 tefahim, you may use the place that is within the 3 tefahim limit. However, if they were if they were above the ground 3 tefahim, even if below them there's an area in the ground which is for instance a little pit that's under them because of water that falls or something like that, it is still, if it is above the typical ground 3 tefahim, then it is asur to sit on it, just like the beginning of the halakha. Halakha tet. It is prohibited to ride a behema, an animal, on Shabbat, because we are afraid that he may end up cutting a vine in order to hit the animal to tell it where he wants to go. Also, it is prohibited to hang onto an animal. Also, it is prohibited to sit on the behema from the daytime, so that he could continue sitting it on Shabbat. Also, it is prohibited to lean on the behema. However, the things to lean on something that's already leaning on the behema is mutar. Now, ala ba'ilan b'Shabbat, b'shogeg mutar liret. Somebody climbed on top of a tree on Shabbat. If he did it b'shogeg, he may get off. B'mezid asul liret. However, if he did it on purpose, if he did it by mistake, he may get off on Shabbat. However, if he climbed on the tree on purpose, he may not get off the tree. U'behema, and on an animal. Afilu b'mezid yared. Even if he got on the animal on purpose, he must get off. How come? Mishum sa'ar ba'aleh hayim. Because of sa'ar ba'aleh hayim, because there's sa'ar ba'aleh hayim. We do not want to cause pain to the animals. And Harambam distinctly says that in a few places that sa'ar ba'aleh hayim, that the pain, causing pain to an animal, is a prohibition from the oraita. He says this in the Moreh Nevuchim, Helek Shelishi, Perek Yod Zayin. If anybody wants to look there, they will see what he says about Sa'ar Ba'aleh Hayim. V'chen porekina masoy me'ala behema b'Shabbat mishum Sa'ar Ba'aleh Hayim. Also, any load that is on top of the behema on Shabbat, on top of an animal on Shabbat, you may take it off because of Sa'ar Ba'aleh Hayim. Halacha Yod. Kesef. How? What? And this is in regard to taking off a load from a behema that is on top of a behema. he had a animal which had on top of it a amount of a load of tebu'ah, of hay or something like that. Machnis rosho tahtav. He may put his head under the load and push the load off the animal, and it'll fall on its own. In other words, he's doing it beshinui, in a different manner than he usually does. Somebody was walking. Excuse me. Somebody was walking, and it became night on Shabbat. And his animal had a load on it. When he reaches the out yard, the yard that's on the outermost section of his private domain, of his home, or wherever he wants to put his behemah, he may take off whatever is mutar to take off on Shabbat. Meaning he may take off the animal, whatever is mutar to take off. So if he has something that is not prohibited to hold on Shabbat, he may hold it. And we'll see later on in the later chapters the isur of holding certain objects on Shabbat, what we call mukse. V'she'enan nitalin, and things that are not permitted to touch on Shabbat, mitir habalin ve'asakin nofelin. The person may undo the ropes, because this is not a kesher shel kayama. Of course, any kesher that's to tie an animal, to tie load onto an animal is not kesher shel kayama, and is not kesher shel ummanin, and therefore it's mutar to undo it on Shabbat, and the load falls on its own. However, if there were valuables, objects that can break on the animal, if there were small sacks, he may bring pillows and different blankets that he puts under the behemah, and when these breakable objects fall, the karim will break their fall. Normally this would be asur, because it would seem like mevatel keli mechano, like canceling a something from its usual use. However, this is not exactly mevatel keli mechano in this specific situation. She'areh im yirseh lishlof akar sholef, because if he wants to take away the pillow, he can. The loads are not heavy; they're small loads, and therefore the karim, the pillows, are just there to break the fall and not really to hold whatever falls on them. He's not using the pillows as a keli, as something to hold them, but rather they're breaking the fall. Now, if the animal had even larger bags, meaning also could be small bags with broken glass. They used to use broken glass for different types of commerce. Okay, so he is not permitted to use the karim and kesatot, but rather he unties it and lets it fall, because this is not something which, if it breaks, it causes monetary harm to the person. Doesn't cause great monetary harm in any event. Any glass that is like that, they used to use it. They used to melt it and reform it into a different type of glass. And for something so small, whatever small monetary damage there may be from this, even though I cannot think of any monetary damage that will come from breaking already broken glass, is so small that lo hasheshu, hachamim didn't make any special heteri. If the bags were big and they had breakables or things that were valuable that he did not want to let them fall on the ground by untying and that's it, he may take them off calmly with no with no stress. And in any event, the whole point is that we do not want to leave loads on top of our behemot, on top of our animals on Shabbat, because of the important rule of Sa'ab Ba'alei Hayim. It is prohibited from the Torah, according to Harambam, to cause harm to Ba'alei Hayim on Shabbat, to animals. Not on Shabbat, and any day, to cause harm to animals. Halacha Yod Aleph. Connecting fruits, meaning sticking fruits together until they become one unit, is prohibited on Shabbat from Deoraita Mishum Melechet Me'amer, because it is Melechet Me'amer. Okay, me'amer is taking the harvest and turning it into bundles. לפיכך, and therefore, מי שנתפזרו לו פירותיו בחסרו, somebody who his fruits got scattered in his yard. Okay? מלקט על יד ואוכל. He may take them slowly, one by one, and eat them. אבל לא ייתן לו לתוך הסל ולא לתוך הקופה כדרך שהוא עושה בחול. However, he may not pick them up into a basket or anything like that, like he does on חול. Why? שאם יעשה כדרך שהוא עושה בחול, שמייך בשם בידו בתוך הקופה, ויבוא לידי עימור. Because if he does it like he does it during Hol, on regular days, on weekdays, he may, without even realizing, when the fruits are in the basket, he may squish them one to another and end up doing عمور, which is prohibited on Shabbat. So in the Talmud, there is no given reason for the prohibition of gathering scattered fruits. So there's a mahloket rishonim. Some rishonim say that the isur of picking up scattered fruits is because of the hard work of doing so. For instance, in the case that the fruits were scattered very far. However, other Rishonim say that it is asur because it looks like he is borer, which is asur on Shabbat, like he's splitting things. Okay, we'll see later on. But Harambam, as clearly seen here, says that it is not from those two reasons mentioned. And why is that? Because there's no apparent reason given in the Talmud. And therefore, the reason Harambam gives is the most logical one, namely, so that a person does not end up by mistake sticking the fruits one to another. This is logical. Fruits fell, you put them in a basket, you're going to by mistake stick them one to another. That's the most logical thing. Now, we're going to see another interesting isur. It is prohibited to take scattered salt and put it into one place. Why? Because it's not that he may end up doing an isur from this. There's no isur that could come out of it. Only because it looks like he's doing me'amer, and as we noted in the beginning of this chapter, this is one of the reasons that Hachamim did Isur Shebut and Shabbat. Halacha Yud Bet. Mefarek hayav mishum dash. Dismantling, okay, one thing from another, is prohibited on Shabbat mideoraita mishum dash. They used to, in those days, look at chapter 7-8. You'll see what disha is. They would take, split the pesolet, the dirt, the unwanted parts of the wheat from the seeds of wheat. And squeezing olives and grapes is also prohibited, mishum mefarek, which is hayav mishum dash, which is hayav mideoraita. Lefichach, therefore, asur lishot tutim v'rimonim, ho'ilu miksat bnei adam sohatim otam kezetim va'anavim. Therefore, it is prohibited to squeeze pomegranates and strawberries because it was common practice in those days that some people used to squeeze them. I mean, it wasn't fully common. It was something that people used to do, that they used to squeeze them like zetim va'anavim, like olives and grapes. And then we are afraid that if we allow him to squeeze strawberries and pomegranates, he may end up squeezing also zetim va'anavim, grapes and olives. However, she'ar perot, other fruits, keron parishin v'tapuhin ve'uzradin, whatever other fruits, mutar lesochtan b'Shabbat, that is permitted to squeeze them on Shabbat because they are not squeezables. There's nothing to squeeze. Halacha Yod Gimel. Kevashin ushlakot shesechata. Okay? Pickled, steamed, or boiled fruits that he squeezed. Im lerakech gufan mutar. If it was just to soften them, it is permitted. Ve'im leosim mehen asur. However, if he squeezes these pickled things or these steamed things to take out their water, to take out their juices, it is prohibited because it looks like sehita. Ve'en merasikin et hasheleg sheyazuvu memav. This is a law that is less relevant where I live in Eretz Yisrael, maybe a little more relevant to those of you listening in New York. It is prohibited to crush the snow so that its water comes out of it. However, abal meraseku letocha kos or letocha ke'ara. He may crush the snow into a cup or into a bowl. Hashum ve'haboser ve'hamelilot. um, garlic, or something, boser is something like garlic. They have melilot, wheat that is very, very ripe. That he crushed them from the day. So there were two parts in crushing the wheat. The first part would be to take out their the parts that are not wanted, so the peels, etc. So you would like crush it to get the peels off. The second part would be to do what's called dicha, to smash them. So if the smashing wasn't done, he may not do the smashing on Shabbat. However, if they were already smashed and they only need to be now crushed, like a last crush to make them one like isa, one thing, one unit of, I can't, the words are slipping my mind. Shahika is a thinner type of crushing. Bayad mutalo ligmor lo. And if he wants to do the shahika with his hand, he may do it on Shabbat. However, with a keli, shahika is asur. With a professional instrument of shahika is asur. Therefore, therefore, they used to have what's called Isa Parur. It was the bulgur, the bulgur that we have today. You could search on the internet what that is. Whoever doesn't know what that is, famous food they have in Israel. Till today, people eat it. So they used to make it by cooking wheat in a certain manner on Shabbat, and then they would crush it at the end. So it is mutar to do so on Shabbat after it is taken off the fire. It is like mehusar shehika and not mehusar dicha. Halakha yod dalet. Amolel melilot. So we said melilot are fully ripened wheat that you could, with your hand, you crush out the seeds. Molel b'shinui, you have to do it in a manner which is not like you do it in the during the week. So it doesn't look like he's doing disha, like he's splitting the peel from the wheat, from the seeds, bechavana, like in a manner of disha. Disha was a very specific way to do it. Hayonek befiv, somebody who nurses with his mouth, patur. We're talking about an animal. However, if an animal had milk and it was crying, in other words, it was in pain because it needed to be nursed, it is permitted to do so on Shabbat with his mouth because he's not really doing mefarek, it's kila haryad. And for sa'ar ba'alei hayim, hachamim hetiru, they are permitted to nurse animal that was in pain, to relieve it of its pain. Fruits that liquid oozed out of them on Shabbat. If it was olives and grapes, it is prohibited to drink those drinks, those liquids that ooze out on Shabbat, because we are afraid that he may end up squeezing the grapes and the olives on Shabbat, which is of course asur deoraita, as previously mentioned. However, if with strawberries and pomegranates, if these strawberries and pomegranates were specified for eating, the liquids that come out of them are mutarim. However, if they were specified to be crushed, this has to do somewhat with the laws of Mukseh. We will see that in L'chot Yom Tov and later on in L'chot Shabbat as well. Halacha Tetzayin. Zetim va'anavim. One moment. זיתים וענבים שריסקן מערב שבת ויסעו מהן משכין מעצמן מותרים. Olives and grapes that he crushed, that an individual crushed from Erev Shabbat. ויסעו מהן משכין מעצמן, and out of them came, on Shabbat, after they were crushed, oozed out of them liquid. The liquid is mutar. Why? Because the initial crushing before Shabbat made it so that these could not be crushed more on Shabbat, meaning they were already crushed, and therefore anything that oozes out of them is from that initial crushing, and we're not afraid that this will bring you to do sehita on Shabbat with grapes and olives. Also honeycombs that were crushed me'erev Shabbat, Mashkina yosein mehen b'Shabbat mutarim. The drinks, the liquids that ooze out of them on Shabbat are permitted. She'en kan makom nigzera shekevar isekan miba'ira, because there's no place here for prohibition, as he has already done the risuk, the crushing, on Erev Shabbat. Halacha Yod Zayin. Zoreh uborer. The splitting of the unwanted shmutz from the wheat, and the wheat, the seeds of the wheat, from the wheat and the seeds, me'avot melachot. And this is one of the avot melachot. Actually, it's two avot melachot. Lefichach, af al pi shemutar limlol melilot berashes be'otav. Even though we said to do what's called melilat melilot is mutar if you do it with the tips of your fingers, like beshinui, in a way that's not commonly done. Kishehu menapeh be'ado achat bechol kocho, אבל לא בקנון ותמחוי. When he does nefiha, if he wants to blow the shmutz away from the seeds, from the wheat seeds, he may do it. He may blow with his mouth with all his power, meaning blow strong with his mouth when the seeds are in his hand. However, he may not do it with a kanon and a tamchoy. What is a kanon and a tamchoy? A kanon or kanun is something which actually looks very much like the modern day instrument called the kanun. And that is the way it's described by some of the mefarshim of the Talmud. Really is like the kanun, the modern day kanun. It's an Arabic instrument. It's sort of like some sort of keli, some instrument that is triangularly shaped, and on the tip of the triangle would come out all the shmutz would come out, and you would shake it in a certain way. The tamchoy is just like a bowl. Gezerah shemei napeh benafal v'chvara. This is a prohibition, so that the person doesn't end up doing it with an apay and a kevara. So now I must explain. There are three types of ways to do this nipuach, to get the shmutz out, with by virtue of nipuach. The first way is to blow on it. Okay, with nipuach. Sorry, the first way is to blow on it. That's to blow the shmutz of the wheat out. The second way is to use some sort of bowl, kanon, tamchui, something that is not normally used for this. Okay? So kanon and tamchui are not normally used for this. From the oraita, it is mutar to use a kanon and a tamchui. However, using a kanon and a tamchui for this purpose on Shabbat is asur, because it looks like napain chevara. Napain chevara are professional sifting instruments, okay, which are used to professionally sift the wheat from the dirt on it, the seeds of the wheat from the dirt that are on them, and therefore you're not allowed to use a kanon and tamchui either, so that you don't end up doing it with an napain chevara shehu hayav, which is completely prohibited from scriptural deoraita law. And somebody who sifts the yeast that's at the bottom of the wine. Okay, we said in some previous halachot that at the bottom of the wine there would be like this phlegm type of yeast leftovers that they would save, and they would use it later on. They would sift it. They would sift water through, and that water would be like wine, etc. So mishamer shemarim is a tolada of borer o meraked. It's toledat borer o meraked. Lefichach. We said it is mutar to sift wine that is already sifted, or water that is already sifted, using cloths, or using a type of basket made out of lulav leaves. That's kefifa misrit. Lo ya'aseh gumma basudar shelo ya'aseh kederech shu oseh. Behold, he may not make a guma, a like dent in the sudar, so that it should not be like he does it in the weekdays. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to, 100% on. I did not 100% understand this line here. Lo ya'aseh guma. He's saying, I'll say what I understand, the peshat that I understand. But if anybody has a better explanation, I am open to hearing it. Lo ya'aseh guma basudar is they would take the cloth that you would do the sifting of the shemarim in, and you would make like a dent in the cloth. You'd like make a spot that is a little more dented downwards, and then you put the shemarim and you pour water, etc. And the shemarim would be kept in that dent. So this is not permitted to do on Shabbat, because it's very close. Because this is the way they do it on the weekdays, and then he might end up doing it. He might end up, from doing it with a sudar, which is only asur midirabanan, he'll end up doing it Hiyuv de oraita, with the regular mishmeret, with the regular professional instrument of use that they would use to do the sinun shemarim. Therefore, it is asur also to do with the sud, if you do make a guma in the sudar. V'chen asur litlot et mishmeret kederich she'oseh bechol. Also, it is prohibited to hang the sifter like he does it in the weekdays. Shemei yavo l'shamer. In other words, he would have the sifter put in a certain spot when it was used a lot, so you wouldn't always take it in and out of the closet or drawer or whoever would be hidden. You would have it in a certain spot, like put in its set position, and it would always be used. As a person's working with going about their daily lives, they would use it and they would have it out. So you're not allowed to have it out on Shabbat, so that the person doesn't end up doing it without noticing, doing shimur shemarim. Also, making cheese, splitting cheese from the liquids after they would put the milk in a chemical called Rene, which is found in the stomach of many animals, which are specifically kosher, by the way. It's only found in kosher animals. So they would use this. So after they would put the milk there, the milk would split from the liquids. You would have hard and liquid specimens there, and they would take the hard and connect it. So that is habus, and that is toledet borer. That is a tolada of berira, because you're splitting the good from the bad. You're splitting the cheese that comes out of that chemical process from the liquids that you do not want. Lefichach, therefore, even though it is mutar to take sesame seeds or almonds or whatever, nuts, and put them in the honey for cooking purposes or whatever, they used to make candies out of it. Till today, you have some people who make that. You see that a lot. I forgot the names. It's the Persian snack. I forgot the name. So it is mutar to stick it in, but to now make clumps out of it is asur. Halacha yodhet. Hamechatech et hayarak dak dak. Okay. So in Harambam's language and in the language of the Talmud, yarak is not vegetables, but rather it is greenery, any greens, okay, leaves, spinach, lettuce, etc. So cutting the greens very, 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 very small, in order to cook, this is a tolada of tohen. It is a tolada of tehina, v'hayat, and therefore it is hayat. לפיכך אין מרסקים לא את השחת ולא את החרובין לפני בהמה בין דקה בין גסה. Therefore it is prohibited to crush those leaves which are already made to throw, and you give them to the animals to eat, or the carobs that they would give to the animals to eat, בין דקה בין גסה, whether it was בהמה דקה, בהמה גסה, מפני שנראה כטוחן, because it looks like טחינה. But מחתכים את הדלועים לפני הבהמה ואת הנבלה לפני הכלבים שאין טחינה בפירות. But it is mutar to cut דלועים, pumpkins for the behemah to eat, or to cut up a carcass that was to be given to a dog, because there's no tahina in perot and in meat, in meat products. ומתירין אלומות של עמיר לפני בהמה ומפספס בידו אלומות קטנות, אבל לא אלומות גדולות פני התורה שבהן. Also, it is mutar to undo stalks of hay for the behemot. That was amir. Amir is like a type of hay, and take out the small parts and give them to the behemot, even though you would think that is some sort of could be connected somehow to the hitoch dakdak or something like that. It is mutar, but he may not take out the heavy ones because there is Torah to do this. So you have I'll try to describe it. You have some sort of stalks of hay, and you undo the stalks of hay, and out come thicker pieces of hay and thinner pieces of hay. So the thinner pieces you may take out and give to the behema. Halacha yotet. Habile se'ah ve'ezov ve'koranit ve'chayose bahem. So nana, that's se'ah, and different types of za'atar, that's ezov and koranit, shehichnisan lema'achal behema. That the specified use of them was for the feeding of animals. Mustapek bahem ve'kotem ve'ochel berashes be'otav. A person may eat them, he may enjoy them, but he may not do it in the regular manner in which he would usually do it in the weekday. How does he do it? He cuts it with the tips of his fingers and eats it. Not in a way that he would usually do it with his whole hand, but rather with the tips of his finger. But he shouldn't do it with his hands in a less constricted manner in the way he does it usually, because then he may end up doing dikduk, or like a type of hituch dakdak. הלכה כף. השריך לדוק פלפלים וכיוצא בהם. ליתן לתוך המאכל בשבת, הרי זה קוטש ביד הסכין ובקערה. Somebody who needs to crush hot pepper, okay, chili peppers, and the like, to put into food on Shabbat, it is mutar to do this with the back of the knife in a bowl. However, to do this in a professional crusher, they would have like the machteshet. So this is asur because it's like tohen. לפיכך, אסור לבריא להתרפות בשבת גזירה שמי ישחוק סממנים. Therefore, it is prohibited for a healthy person to consume medicinal products on Shabbat, and this is a prohibition so that a person doesn't end up doing shahikat samamanim, crushing of the different medicinal spices, medicinal herbs. And in those days, really, most of the medicine was based on herbs and a lot of the medicine. I don't know if most of the medicine was based on crushing herbs and spices in certain manners, which would cause health, which would have medicinal value, whether a placebo or not. I don't know if compare that to modern day medicine, but still, that's how they would do it. Halacha kaf aleph, kesad. How? What does Rambam mean? A person should not eat things that are not the food of healthy, that are, healthy person can eat them, but only sick people eat them, like ezovin, zatar, types of green, and pu'ah, another type of herb that was used only for health, for sick people, and not things that cause diarrhea, herbs such as la'ana. Also, it is asur to drink things that the common healthy people do not drink them, like water that in it were cooked herbs and different types of herbs. Today, interesting, somebody once asked me about tea. He said, look at this halakha, maybe tea is asur. So I asked him, is tea something that only sick people drink or not? Today, halakha l'maaseh, most people drink tea. Regular people, healthy people drink tea. It's not something that only sick people do. Therefore, I'm not making pesak halakha, but I'm saying that is one of the reasons to be matir tea. Tea is mutar on Shabbat, but that is one of the reasons not to be oser tea from this specific halakha. Halakha kaf bet. אוכל אדם אוכלין ומשכין, שדרך הבריאים לאוכלן ולשתותן, כגון הכוסבר והקישוט והאזור. אף על פי שהם מרפאים, ואכלן כדי להתרפות בהן מותר, הואיל והן מאכל של בריאים. A person may eat foods and drinks that have some medicinal health value, and they cause, health. They cause people to be healthier, okay, actively, okay. Today I would think of like wheatgrass. Nobody drinks wheatgrass for taste. 99.9% wheatgrass juice, search it on the internet, see what it is. Nobody drinks that for the tastiness of it, for the, to savor the taste. People drink it for health value. But this is something most healthy people, many healthy people drink. And it's not something sick people drink. So you may drink something or eat something that healthy people eat to be healthier because it is ma'achal biri'im. It is the food of healthy people. שתה חלטית מקודם השבת, והרי הוא שותה והולך, מותר לשתותן בשבת. במקומות שנהגו הבריאים לשתות החלטית, חלטית is a type of herb, juice of an herb that only in certain places it was ma'achal biri'im. So if he drank it before Shabbat, he may continue drinking it on Shabbat because he is used to it on Shabbat. It's something that is ma'achal biri'im, that is not necessarily prohibited. Veshotin zetosa masri bechol makom, also zetosa masri, which is a type of alcohol, which also had some health values, may be drunk in any place because it is ma'achal biri'im. Halakha kaf gimel. Vechen also shemanim oils, שדרך הבריאים לסוך בהן. מותר לסוך בהן בשבת, ואף על פי שנתכוון לרפואה. Oils that most healthy people rub them on themselves. It is permitted to rub with them on Shabbat, even if you're doing it for medicinal purposes. ושאין הבריאים צחים בהן אסורים, and oils that healthy people do not rub themselves with are prohibited. החושש במותניו, somebody who has hip pain. So in those days, in order to cure hip pain, it was customary to rub oils on the hip. לא יסוך יין וחומס, he may not rub wine and vinegar on his hurting hips, אבל סחו את השמן, however he may rub oil, ולא שמן ורד, אלא במקום שבריאים סחין אותו, and a person may not use rose oil unless it's a place which the common people use, the common healthy people use rose oil for day-to-day sicha. ומותר לסוך שמן ומלח בכל מקום, and it is permitted to do sicha with oil, olive oil, and salt. When he says setam shemen, he's talking about referring to olive oil and salt in any place. Let's say somebody was bruised in his hand or his leg. So he may cause, he may put wine. They would, in those days, they would put wine on that bruise to cause the blood flow to be there to be a little slower and to close the area. So you may do it with wine. However, it is prohibited to do that with vinegar. And if by putting the wine, it would be a very, very serious procedure for him, meaning it wouldn't be just a regular, rub wine on the hand. It would be something that would be cause him serious medicinal value. It's asur for him, even for this individual, even with wine. Halakha kaf dalet. Hachoshesh b'shinav. Somebody was tooth pains. Lo yikba' bahen et hachomes ve'iflot. They used to, when somebody had tooth pains, they would gargle vinegar and spit it out. So somebody who has tooth pains may not do that, but he may gargle and swallow the vinegar. I think this is one of those cases that yasa sicharov behefsedo. But that's just a side note. Somebody who has a throat ache shouldn't gargle oil in his throat and then spit the oil out, but rather he should gargle it and then he may drink a lot of oil in order to remedy his sickness. And if he was cured, then it is okay. But if he wasn't, there's nothing you can do. Unless he's chole sheish bo sa'ar or whatever that we saw in the previous chapters in halakha and perek gimel or bet, if I remember correctly. There are certain things which are usually used for medicinal purposes. However, they are also used for simple breath control purposes. So those things are allowed to be chewed on Shabbat if it was for breath controlling purposes and not for their medicinal value. Halakha kaf he. En noten yain letoch ha'ain, aber notenu al gav ha'ain al gav ha'ain. They used to use wine to cure eye sicknesses, so it is prohibited to stick the wine directly into the eye. However, it is mutar to put the wine on top of the eyelid, and then the wine flows into the eye, so to speak, on its own. Verok tafel afilu al gav ha'ain asur, and also spit that they would use spit to remedy eye pain. It is asur to put it even on top of the eye, because that is something very, very curing. It's a serious medicine. Kilor sheshara oto me'erev Shabbat ma'abiro al gav einav b'Shabbat ve'eno choshesh. Kilor was a medicine. I couldn't find what this medicine exactly was, so I'm just going to use its word, kilor. I'm going to look for a second, see if I maybe am forgetting. Right, it was some sort of eye remedy, so that you would need to rest it in water before Shabbat. You need to rest in water in order to use it. So if he put in water before Shabbat, he may rub it on the back of his eye, on the lid of his eye, on Shabbat, and it's okay. However, to put the kilor into water on Shabbat is asur for another reason, which we will see later on. somebody who bruised his finger, somebody who was injured in his finger is prohibited from putting gemi, some type of cast, bandage type of thing that would, so to speak, keep the finger in place. Somebody, when you break a finger, you put a type of minimal cast, and you shouldn't press on the finger to take out the blood that is in it. הלכה כ"ו. אין נותנים חומס ושמן על גבי המכה, ולא על גבי מוח שעל גבי המכה, ולא על גבי מוח ליתנו על המכה בשבת. It is prohibited to put oil and vinegar directly on a cut, or on a bandage / cotton ball that was already on the makkah, on the cut, or on a cotton ball that was to be put on a cut on Shabbat. However, abal notenu chus lamakah v'shotet v'yored lamakah, he may put it above the bruise, and it falls on its own into the bruise. ונותנים מוח יבש על גבי המכה ומיה עתיק אסור מפני שהוא קרטיה. And moch, a dried moch, can be put onto the cut. Moch was something, is a piece of cotton or wool that they used to put as like for bandaging purposes, but it wasn't exactly a bandage. It would more take in any blood that comes out. And when it would get dry, it would be more like a thicker bandage. So you may put dry moch on the makkah if it was dry. However, if it was very dry, it is prohibited because it's like putting a retiyah, which is like a professional bandage. Halakha kaf zayin. Retiyah shepirsha al gabe keli mahazirin ota. A bandage that was on somebody that fell off him. If it fell onto something, not on the ground, you may put it back on. However, if it fell on the ground, it is asur. ומניחין רתייה על גבי המכה לכתחילה במקדש שאין איסור שבות במקדש. And putting a bandage on Shabbat is mutar לכתחילה on Shabbat in Bet HaMikdash, because there is no isur shevut in the Mikdash, and this is in regard to all the isurei shevut which we saw and we will see. ומכל מקום מקנחין פי המכה ואין מקנחין את הרתייה שמי ימרח, and in any place right, and in any place it is mutar to clean a cut. However, it is not mutar to clean the retiyah, the bandage, because we're afraid that he might do miruah, miriha, rubbing, which is asur on Shabbat. Halacha kafhet. Yes. Okay. Halacha kafhet. Sachin, it is allowed to rub umishtameshin b'bnei me'ayin b'Shabbat. It is allowed to rub and massage the stomach on Shabbat. V'hu sheyasuch v'yemashmesh bebat achat. As long as he's doing the sicha and the mishmush, the massage and the rubbing of oils at once, so he doesn't do it like he does it in Yom Chol. Ve'en mit'ammelin b'Shabbat. It is asur to exercise on Shabbat. Ezehu mit'ammel. What is the exercising that we're talking about that is asur on Shabbat? Ze shedoresin al gufo bekoach kede sheyiga v'yazia, או שיהלך עד שיגע ויזיע, שאסור ליגע את עצמו כדי שיזיע בשבת מפני שהוא רפואה. The two types of it'amlut exercise that Harambam is talking about, one of them is where somebody lies down and people would step on him, and he would have to one moment. So the first way is that he would one moment. I'm having some reoccurring technical difficulties here. So right is where people would stand on somebody and he would have to like hold his stomach hard and it would cause him to sweat. And the second type is walking, a very common exercise all over the world. וכן אסור לעמוד בקרקע דמוסות שבארץ ישראל, מפני מעמלת ומרפאה. Also, it is asur to be in a place with hydrothermic heat coming out of it, like in Eretz Israel. You have this in some places in Hameh Teveriya, tunnels, underground tunnels that would be very hot. Till today they have them, and these cause a person to sweat, and it is asur therefore on Shabbat. Halacha kaftet. אין רוחסין במים המשלשלים, ולא בטיט שטובעין בו, ולא במי המשרה הבאושים, ולא בים סדום, ולא במים הרעין שבים הגדול, מפני שכל אלו סער הם. It is prohibited to wash oneself with water that causes him pain on Shabbat, such as tar, which burns, or Yam HaMelach, entering it hurts, or מים הרעין שבים הגדול, the contaminated waters of the ocean, because these are all painful to the individual. And it says in the Torah, Shabbat oneg, and you must call the Shabbat oneg, enjoyment. Oneg mishon enug, it'anegut nefesh. Lefichach, therefore, im lo nishtaha bahem ela ala miyad, afal pi sheyesh lo chatatim berosho mutar. If he entered the water and immediately left them, it is mutar, even if he has bruises or cuts in his head that are getting burned, seared by entering these waters. Halacha lamed. En mitgaredin b'magredet, it is prohibited to scratch oneself with a instrument called a scratcher. I don't know an English word for this. I'm sure there is one. It's not coming to mind. It would be an instrument that is very rough, and you would scratch yourself with it. However, if an individual's hands were dirty with mud or feces, he may use it to rub the dirt off his hands. It is permitted to do sicha for a person, as we said, to rub oil or different types of things like that on a person, and to scratch somebody, to itch somebody for him in order to give him pleasure, but it may not be done for an animal on Shabbat. However, if the animal was in pain, you may do sicha and peruch to take away the pain from the animal. An animal that ate a lot of karshinin. Karshinin is a type of legume called vicia or vilia. So it is mutar, that is the Latin phrase. I do not know if this is the English word for it. May not be. So an animal that ate too much of this legume and got into pain, it may be taken into the yard, into the haser, and run around. The terufah for this, the curing for this animal, would be to make it run around to let the food digest faster. And it is mutar on Shabbat to do that for the animal because of sa'ar ba'alei hayim. V'ima hazada, and if the animal did what's called ahizat dam, in other words, had fever, some sort of fever. You may put the animal in water to cool it down, in cooler water to cool it down, and we are not afraid that the person may do for this animal shehikat samamanim. Halacha lamed gima. En maki'in et ha'ochel b'Shabbat. It is prohibited to cause oneself to vomit purposefully on Shabbat. B'meh devarim amurim besam shemeshchok samamanim. What condition are we talking about? In a condition in which somebody takes a medicine which causes him to vomit on Shabbat. However, lachnis yado letoch piv ulhaki mutar. For an individual to stick his hand into his mouth and cause himself to vomit is mutar. ואסור לדחוק כרסו של תינוק כדי להוציא הראי שלו, שמא יבוא להשקותו סמנים המשלשלים. And it is prohibited to push on a baby's stomach in order to cause it to its feces to come out, the baby's feces to come out, because we're afraid that he might, from this, come give the baby some mamanim. Because this may cause him to do shehikat samamanim on Shabbat for the baby to cause cause it to go faster. It was a common medical practice in those days to put a cup on the baby's belly button in order to cause the belly button to come out. Okay, what they call today an outie or an innie belly button. So they would, for medical purposes, it was considered unhealthy for the baby's belly button to be inwards, and they would do this some medical thing. So there's mutar to do that with a cup on Shabbat in order to bring the belly button out. וכן מותר לחנק וללפוף את הקטן ולהעלות אוזניים בין ביד בין בכלי ולהעלות כלי. Also, it is mutar to cover and wrap the baby in whatever manner needs to be wrapped, or to do what's called ha'ala'at oznaim, when the baby's ears come out of their spot and you pick them up, bin bayad, bin bakeli, with a hand, or with this instrument made specifically for this purpose. One moment. I made a mistake. Ha'ala'at oznaim is not the ears, but the jaw. When the jaw gets out of place, to put it back into place. Or leha'alot keli. If somebody has a dislocated joint, you may relocate it on Shabbat. שכל אלו וכיוצא בהן, אין עושים אותן בסמנים כדי לחוש לשחיקה, ויש לו שער. והן, all these things, when a person does them, you don't need special herbs for them, and therefore we're not afraid that he may do shechikat samamanim, and the person has sa'ar from them, and kol makom sheyesh sa'ar, etiru, hachamim were a little less stringent in places that people were in pain. Halacha lamed bet. Hamiraked me'avot melacha. To do what's called harkada, which is taking a keli, taking some sort of big bowl, big tray of sorts, putting the wheat inside, and shaking it fast, and allowing the dirt, the unwanted remnants of the wheat, to come out, to get split from the wheat. So this is an ab melacha. Now, harkada and disha are very similar, but they were put nevertheless as separate avot melachot. Lefichach, therefore, anyway, let's get back to miraked me'avot melachot. Lefichach, therefore, en koverin et hateben bechvara, v'lo yaniach hakevara sheyesh b'hateben b'makom gavoa. It is prohibited to take the wheat, the cut wheat, and put it in a sifter, in a professional sifter. V'lo yaniach hakevara sheyesh b'hateben b'makom gavoa. Also, it is prohibited to take this bowl that they would sift the wheat in and put it in a high spot so that the wheat falls, the unwanted remnants of the wheat would come out. That is what we call the unwanted, that is the name of the unwanted remnants. Because this is close to miraked. Abal, but, however, it is mutar to take the sifter that has the wheat in it and take it to the manger of the animal, even though while you're walking, maybe some of the moss, some of the shmutz might come out while you're walking, because this is davar she'eno mitkaven. I must mention, I was using the word shmutz before, and I forgot why. This is because the word shmutz and moss are two very close words. The word shmutz, the modern word that they say, I think it's Yiddish, comes from moss, and mem vav sadi. Okay. Halacha lamed gimal. Megabel hayav mishum lash. Okay, megabel hayav mishum lash. Doing gibul, okay, which is putting different cabbage. So doing gibul is hayav mishum lash. Gibul is where you would take certain different herbs or whatever and put them in water, and that would cause them to go from a yes. So megabel is where you would take all kinds of different chemicals and put them and mix them with water. This is hayav mishum lash, because you're taking them from one position and transforming them into one unit of liquid. So this is asur hayav mishum lash. And there's a specific, meaning there's specifics in this halakha of gibul. It is mentioned in the previous chapters. I'm not going to get into those specifics, but it's hayav mishum lash. In any event, it's where you take chemical A, put it into liquid, and then you mix it, and it causes some sort of reaction, or the liquid becomes one unit of sorts. And this is very close to lisha, very close to kneading, and therefore it's asur. Lefichach, therefore, אין מגבלים קמח קלי הרבה, שמי יבוא ללוש קמח שאינו קלי. Kemach kali is flour that was made out of wheat that was roasted. So this flour that was made out of wheat that was roasted, it is not asur, it's not prohibited mideoraita to knead it on Shabbat. Therefore, it is prohibited, however, it is prohibited to do gebila on this kemach kali, to put the kemach kali into water and cause some sort of kneading. Shemeh, so that he does not end up doing this with regular kemach, which is prohibited mideoraita. Now, in gibul, what you would do is there would be two stages. I forgot to mention, I'm going to mention now. There's stage one where you put the chemical or whatever you want to put into the water, and then you would mix it. And the mixing would cause it to go to a different, to change, to transform. Okay? So in regard to kemach kali, which is a type of roasted wheat, a flour made out of roasted wheat, you would put the flour into the water, and then you would have to mix it. This is go megabel. Because this is very similar, and it's asur, it's prohibited midrabbanan, because it's very similar to gibul of regular flour, and we do not want the person to end up transgressing the oraita law because of that. Umutar, and it is allowed ligabel kali me'at me'at, to do the gibul on this kemach kali slowly in an irregular fashion. Abba, however, תבואה שלא הביאה שליש שקלו אותה, ואחר כך טחנו אותה טחינה גסה, שהרי היא כחול, והיא נקראת שתית, מותר לגבל ממנה בחומס וכיוצא בו הרבה בבת אחת. However, shatit, which is a very different type of flour, it's kind of like flour, but very, very, very thin. It is the flour of wheat that did not ripen, that only ripened a third of the way through, and then was immediately roasted and then immediately ground into flour. This is a very odd type of flour, which is very different than regular flour. This is mutar to do regular gibul with vinegar or whatever other type of what was customary in those days, bebatahat at once, because it's not going to bring the person to end up doing gibul in regular flour. Vehu, however, this is in condition that this shatit, whatever comes out of this shatit, will be soft and not hard. Abal kashe asur mipnei shenir'a kilash. However, if the shatit mehila, not the, if the mixture ends up being hard, it is asur because it looks like lisha. V'sarich lishanot. However, and there's one more condition. When you do this with the shatit, you need to do b'shinui kesa. How? Noten et shatit v'achar kach noten et hametz. You put the shatit in, and then you put the vinegar, the second liquid, rather than putting the vinegar and then putting the shatit inside. That was what was normal to do. So you do it in an irregular way that is not normally done on the weekdays, in order to signify that this is different, because you're doing it on Shabbat, and therefore the person will not end up doing, we're hoping that through this, the person will not end up transgressing the deoraita law. Halacha lamed dalet. Hamursan. Mursan is another part of the wheat. It's the first thick waste that comes out after sifting the flour, and it is and you put this in water, and normally it was customary to give it to animals to eat. So hamursan, even though it's not something that can be tangibly megubal, because when you mix it with water, it doesn't turn into one unit, but still stays split from the water. You could see it doesn't turn into one. An example, a very good, to one. Nevertheless, asul legabel oto, it is not allowed. Why? Because we're afraid that you may come by doing this to do the gibul with dirt, and that is gibul, which is asul. However, it is mutar if you do it b'shinui in a different manner, in a way that's irregular from the way you do it usually in hol. You put the mursan, and then you put the water, and then when mixing it, you don't mix it in a regular way by taking the spoon and mixing it in a round way. However, you do sheti va'arev. You take the spoon. I'm trying to illustrate this as well as possible in an oral manner. You take the spoon, and you imagine you have a bowl and you have a spoon, and you, instead of turning the spoon around in a clockwise or counterclockwise manner in a motion like that, you put it forward, and then you take the spoon, you push the spoon forward in the mixture. You don't turn it, you push it forward in the mixture, and then you push it backwards. And that, so to speak, mixes it in a very awkward, precarious way. And this is shinui that is substantial enough to allow you to put the mursan with water. However, a person shouldn't knead it or mix it with his hands, because that looks like lisha as well. And if doing the tarvat shetiva and all the above was not sufficient to mix the mursan enough into the water so that it's consumable by the animals you want to feed it to, you may take it from keli to keli, from instrument to instrument, from bowl to bowl, until it gets mixed up. You put it in and out until it gets mixed up. And then you give it to the animals that you want to feed it to. ומותר לערב המורסן על דרך זו בכלי אחד ומחלק אותו בכלים הרבה, ונותן לפני כל בהמה ובהמה ומערב בכלי אחד אפילו קור ואפילו קוריים. And it is also permitted to do this, to mix it in one keli, in one bowl of sorts, to do the mixing of the mursan, and then split it into different kelim and give it to the behemot. And you may do it in one keli, even a very, very large amount. You may mix the mursan in one keli with even a very large amount, in the manner that we just specified right now. Halacha lamidhe. En ma'achilin behema haya ve'of b'Shabbat kederech shu ma'achil b'chol. It is prohibited to feed animals, behemot, hayot, and birds or chickens on Shabbat in the way that you feed them in the weekday. Because we are afraid that the person may end up crushing legumes or kneading flour and things like that. Kesa, how? Harabam is not going to specify, as he always does. Usually, it was customary that when you give certain animals food, you give them food for many days. So it is prohibited to give the gamal or whatever animal you're giving food for a few days. Okay? Rather, you give him only for the immediate needs of the animal for that specific Shabbat. Also, he may not, it was customary that when you were feeding a baby cow, you would hit it and cause it to open its mouth, and you would put in it the karshinin, that type of legume, in the water at once, and it would mix in, and the baby would learn to eat it himself. It would be like a way to teach it. So that's something that you usually do in Hol. We don't do this on Shabbat. וכן, לא ייתן לתוך פיונים ותרנגולין למקום שאינן יכולים להחזיר. Also, he shouldn't feed he shouldn't overfeed his birds in a way that they get overfilled, and this would be to make them fatter for shechita. אבל מאכיל הוא את הבהמה מעומד ומשקיע אותה מעומד ונותן לתוך פי המים בפני עצמו וחלשינים בפני עצמו במקום שיכולה להחזיר. Right. But rather, you feed it standing, and you put the water into the animal's mouth while you're standing, and you don't put the water in the karshinim at once, like we saw with the egel, in a way that it could manage with this. In other words, that it could handle what you're doing to it. Also, you may feed the chicken with your hand rather than giving it food in the manner that you do usually at home. Now, I must say, I am not a professional in feeding animals, and therefore my explanations here may have been lacking. But the guiding rule here is that feeding animals on Shabbat is allowed only, first of all, only for the immediate needs of the animal for that specific Shabbat, first of all. And second of all, so we said with a camel, don't feed the camel 4 days of food on Shabbat, give it only 1 day of food. Second of all, do it in a way that's a little different on Shabbat, b'shinui, as much as possible. Okay? So as much as possible, I'm not making halakha lema'aseh, I'm just giving the guiding rule so that to not confuse anybody who's listening. Halakha lamidva. And what are we talking about? Who is a person allowed to feed on Shabbat? Meaning we say you have to feed your animal on Shabbat. So who can you feed on Shabbat? Animals that you have to feed, that you are obligated to feed on Shabbat. Like your own behemoth, like your own sheep and cattle, heavy cattle and light cattle, cows and sheep and goats, and yoneh sovach, yoneh habayit, and the person's pigeons, ve'avazim, ve'tanigolin, and chickens and ducks. Aval mishe'en bezonotav alav, an animal that a person is not obligated to feed, kegon hazir ve'yoneh sovach udborim, like pigs and pigeons that aren't necessarily his, that he allows them to come into his house and live in his pigeon coop. From time to time they'll go back and forth, or bees that he's not obligated to feed them. Lo yiten lifnehem lo mazon velo mayin. It is prohibited to feed them food or water. And it is allowed for a person to put his animal on top of grass and allow it to eat. Right. Even and we're not scared that that the person himself is going to now cut the grass to feed the animal, because the animal usually feeds itself. אבל לא יעמיד אותה על גבי דבר שהוקסה ועומד בפניה כדי שתחזיר פניה לדבר המוקסה ותאכל ממנו וכן ביום טוב. However, it is asur to put an animal in front of something that is mukseh, and we will learn more about the laws of mukseh later on in the chapters. I'm just going to say for the understanding of this specific halakha, mukseh is something that is not allowed to be touched on Shabbat, or food that is not allowed to be eaten on Shabbat, even though normally it would be mutar. But if it was not al da'atcha, if it was not in your mind that you can eat it, in some specific cases you may not. So you may not take your animal and cause it to eat this mukseh foods, these mukseh foods on Shabbat. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.